Welcome to QuickSpeak, the English podcast that's made for incredible learners just like you. And today, we're diving into something I think a lot of us dream about, turning your passion into, well, a way to make money.
It's a really cool idea. And, the sources you've shared suggest that this journey often starts with something we all have, passions.
Okay, so where do we even begin? The material mentions self-reflection as like the first step. What does that actually mean, like practically?
Well, think of it as taking some time to really look inside yourself and think about what activities, really energize you. What are those hobbies that you completely lose yourself in? What are those topics you could talk about for hours?
Think about those things that make you feel like really alive.
Exactly. And, while that self-reflection is super important, the sources also say that it's good to get feedback from others because sometimes our friends and family or even our colleagues can see talents or passions in us that we might miss ourselves.
Yeah, that makes sense. They have a different perspective. So once you sort of have a better idea of what excites you, what comes next?
Well, the material talks a lot about experimentation. You can't just think about your passions. You have to explore them, right? Like maybe you could take a workshop or join a club or even volunteer in something that interests you.
So it's about taking action and seeing, what really connects with you, like on a practical level. But how do you go from loving something to making money from it? That feels like a big jump.
Right. And that's where market research comes in. It might sound complicated, but it's really about figuring out if there are other people who want what you're passionate about. Would they, would they pay for your skills or your products or services?
So like if someone loves baking, amazing cakes, market research would be about finding out if there's a demand for those cakes locally, right?
Yes, exactly. It's about knowing who your customers might be and understanding what they need and what they like. Once you kind of get a sense of that market, the sources suggest you make a business plan. Now, I know that can sound intimidating.
Yeah, it does. It sounds very formal and maybe a bit scary for someone just starting out.
I get that. But a business plan doesn't have to be some big, complicated document. Think of it more as a roadmap. It outlines your goals, your strategies, and how you plan to turn your passion into, well, a real business.
So it's a way to organize your thoughts, like have a structured approach to your passion project.
Exactly. And the material emphasizes starting small, maybe with a side hustle, while you still have your regular job.
That makes sense. So you can test your ideas without taking a huge risk right away.
Yeah, exactly. It's like dipping your toes in before you jump in the pool. And, speaking of testing things out, the sources also talk about how amazing technology is for this.
Yeah, I think a lot of our listeners can relate to that. The internet makes so much possible.
It really does. Platforms like Etsy or YouTube or even freelancing websites, they all offer such incredible opportunities. You can share your skills with, well, basically the whole world.
So someone who loves baking could, like, start an online shop to sell their cakes or even share their baking knowledge through, like, online tutorials.
Right, and don't underestimate the power of networking. Connecting with others in your field. Building those relationships can open doors to new opportunities, and you can get advice from people who've been there.
Yeah, it's about learning from their experiences and having that community of support. But every journey has some bumps in the road. What are some of the hurdles people might face when they try to make money from their passion?
One of the biggest ones is time management. Trying to balance a passion project with other stuff, like work or family, can be really tough.
I think that's something a lot of us struggle with, especially nowadays. It's easy to feel overwhelmed.
Definitely. And the sources actually recommend trying some time management techniques. Like, have you ever heard of the Pomodoro technique?
Yeah, I think so. It's about working in intervals, right?
Yeah, exactly. You work for a set amount of time, like 25 minutes, and then you take a short break. It can be a great way to focus better and get more done.
Okay, that sounds helpful. Are there any other time management tips that stood out to you?
There's also time blocking. This is where you schedule blocks of time for specific tasks or activities. It's a good way to make sure you're giving enough time to your passion project without, neglecting everything else.
So you're creating like a structured schedule that shows you exactly how you're spending your time.
Right. And it's important to be realistic about how much time you actually have. Don't overload yourself. It's better to start with smaller chunks of time, and you can always do more later.
That sounds much more manageable. And besides time management, what are some other common challenges?
Well, another big one is underpricing your work. Especially when you're just starting out, it's easy to undervalue your skills and experience.
Yeah, I think a lot of people struggle with that. Especially when you're passionate about something, you want to share it with everyone.
I know. But the sources really stress the importance of researching, See what others are charging and set prices that reflect what you're worth.
So it's about finding that balance between being competitive, but also valuing your time and your skills.
Right. And then there's the fear of failure. That can be a big obstacle for a lot of people.
That voice in your head that says, what if this doesn't work?
Exactly. It's normal to feel that, but the materials encourage something called a growth mindset. It's about seeing setbacks as opportunities to learn and improve, not as failures.
So you embrace the journey, both the good and the bad, and use it all to grow.
Yeah, exactly. And sometimes the best way to get over those fears is to look to others who've done it. The material you shared has some really inspiring stories of people who turn their passions into thriving businesses.
I love those kinds of stories. It
Yeah.
reminds you that anything is possible. Can you share a few examples that you found particularly interesting?
Sure. One that stood out to me is Pat Flynn. He lost his job and he decided to turn his love of blogging and podcasting into a career. He helps people learn about passive income.
Wow. So he took a difficult situation and created something amazing from it. What were some of the keys to his success?
Well, one thing that really struck me was his honesty. He was very open about his journey, the ups and the downs, and that helped him connect with people, build a loyal audience, people who really valued his expertise.
It sounds like he created a real community around his passion, a place where people could learn and grow together.
You got it. And his story is a great example of how powerful it can be to share your knowledge with others.
I love that. These success stories are so motivating. But I imagine it can be hard to manage a full-time job while also working on your passion project.
Hmm?
What advice do the sources offer for finding that balance?
Well, it all starts with being realistic about what you can do. It's easy to want to do everything at once, but that can lead to burnout.
Yeah, it's important to pace yourself, especially when you have other commitments.
Definitely. The sources suggest breaking your goals down into smaller steps, creating a plan that feels doable.
Like a roadmap to guide you through the process.
Yeah, exactly. And along with setting realistic goals, you need a schedule. Even just a few hours a week consistently can make a big difference over time.
Consistency is key, even if you're starting small.
Absolutely. And here's something you might not expect. They suggest talking to your employer about your side hustle.
Really? Wouldn't that be risky?
It might seem that way, but being open about it can actually be helpful. It avoids any conflicts of interest, and your employer might even be supportive.
So approach it professionally, and maybe even highlight how your side hustle could benefit your current job.
Right. And you never know, your employer might even become a mentor. Now, in terms of organization and time management, the sources highlight how useful productivity tools can be. Have you ever used platforms like Notion or Asana?
I've heard of them, but I haven't really explored them. How can they help with a passion project?
Think of them as like digital control centers for your side hustle. You can make to-do lists, set deadlines, track your progress, and even work with others all in one place.
It keeps everything organized and streamlined.
Exactly. And if you ever feel overwhelmed, remember, you don't have to do everything yourself. The sources suggest outsourcing some tasks, like maybe administrative stuff or marketing, so you can focus on what you're really good at.
That's a good point. Delegate tasks to people who have the expertise.
Right. And in all the planning and hustling, don't forget to take care of yourself.
Yeah, that's so important. It's easy to get caught up in the excitement and forget to prioritize your well-being.
I know it happens, but burning yourself out won't help anyone. The sources stress the importance of sleep, eating well, and doing things that recharge you, both physically and mentally.
It's about finding that balance, pursuing your passion with energy, but also taking care of yourself.
You got it. It's about finding a pace that lets you thrive in all areas of your life.
This has been so insightful. I feel like we've covered so much already, from finding your passion to making a plan, overcoming challenges, and even finding inspiration from successful people. I know our listeners are eager to learn more about the tools and skills that can help them, actually turn their passion into a source of income.
Well, let's do it. Let's open that toolbox and explore those resources and strategies. It's amazing, all the digital tools that are out there to help people launch and manage their passion projects.
It really feels like there's a tool for everything these days. But with so many options, it can be hard to know where to start. What kinds of tools did you find particularly interesting in the materials?
One area that really caught my eye was website builders. Platforms like Wix, Squarespace, and WordPress. They make it so easy to build a website, even if you don't know anything about coding.
I've heard of those, but I always thought building a website was, like, really technical.
I know what you mean. But these platforms are designed to be super user-friendly. They have drag-and-drop interfaces, templates you can customize, all sorts of features to make it simple. You can literally have a website up and running in a few hours.
That's incredible. And what about design? I mean, the visual aspect of a website or a brand is so important.
Absolutely. Visuals are key. They help create a strong brand identity, and there are some great tools out there to help with that. Canva, Adobe Creative Suite, those are really popular.
I've played around with Canva a little bit. It's surprisingly easy to use.
Right. You can create some pretty professional-looking designs, even if you're not a designer. And once you've got your website and visuals sorted out, you need to think about marketing. How are you going to get the word out about your passion project?
That's a big one. What kind of marketing tools stood out in the materials?
Well, email marketing is still really effective. Platforms like MailChimp and Constant Contact can help you create newsletters, automate email campaigns, track your results.
So email is still relevant even with all the social media platforms out there.
Oh, definitely. It's a great way to connect directly with your audience, build relationships, share updates, promote your offerings.
That makes sense. And what about social media marketing? There are so many platforms these days. It can feel overwhelming.
I agree. It can be tough to keep up. But there are tools that can help. Hootsuite, Buffer, those are good ones. They let you manage multiple social media accounts from one place, schedule posts, track your engagement, all sorts of things.
So you can stay organized and make sure you're reaching people on different platforms.
Exactly. And if you have a little bit of a budget for marketing, Google Ads can be really effective.
I've heard of Google Ads, but I don't really understand how they work.
Basically, you create ads that appear in Google search results when people search for specific keywords related to your business. So you're reaching people who are already looking for something you offer.
Oh, that's smart. Target the right people at the right time.
Exactly. Now, if you're selling products online, you'll need to look into e-commerce platforms.
I've used Etsy before to buy things.
Mm.
I know that's an e-commerce platform.
It is, and it's a great option, especially for people just starting out. It's relatively easy to set up a shop, and there's already a huge audience of people looking for unique handmade items.
What other e-commerce platforms are there?
Shopify is another popular one. It gives you more customization options. WooCommerce is another one. It's a plugin for WordPress, so if you're already using WordPress for your website, that's a good option.
So there are choices for different needs and technical skills. But even if you have a great online shop, you still have to manage the financial side of things. That can be intimidating, especially if you don't have a finance background.
Oh, absolutely. But luckily, there are tools to help with that, too. QuickBooks, Wave, those are popular bookkeeping software platforms. They make it easy to track your income and expenses, create invoices, manage your cash flow.
That sounds so much easier than trying to figure it all out yourself.
It is. And then for processing payments, you have services like PayPal and Stripe. They're super easy to use, and they integrate with most e-commerce platforms.
It really is incredible how much easier technology has made it to run a business.
It is. But even with all these amazing tools, it's important to remember that skills are just as important. The sources we're looking at today talk a lot about soft skills and how crucial they are for success.
Right. Tools are great, but you have to know how to use them.
Exactly. So let's talk about some of those key soft skills. What do you want to start?
Well, we talked about time management earlier, but I think it deserves a deeper dive. What are some specific strategies people can use to manage their time effectively, especially when they're juggling a lot of different things?
One technique that comes up a lot is the Pomodoro technique. Have you heard of that one?
Yeah, I think so. It's about working in intervals, right?
Yeah, exactly. You work for a focused period, like 25 minutes, then take a short break. It can really help with focus and productivity.
Okay, that sounds helpful.
Yeah.
Any other time management tips that stood out to you?
Another good one is time blocking. This is where you schedule specific blocks of time for different activities. It helps you visualize how you're spending your time and make sure you're giving enough attention to your passion project.
So you're creating a visual representation of your schedule, essentially.
Yeah, exactly. And it's important to be realistic about how much time you have. Don't try to do too much at once. Start small and gradually increase your dedicated time as you get more comfortable.
That makes sense. Start small and build from there. Besides time management, what are some other important soft skills?
Communication is huge. Whether you're talking to potential investors, networking, interacting with customers, you need to be able to articulate your ideas clearly.
It's about being able to share your passion and your expertise in a way that connects with people.
Yes. And communication is also crucial for collaboration. If you're working with partners, contractors, a team, clear communication keeps everyone on the same page.
It creates a more positive and productive work environment.
Exactly. And another critical skill is problem solving. Every business faces challenges, unexpected obstacles.
It's about being able to think on your feet, adapt to change, find creative solutions.
You got it. And all of this ties into mindset. Having the right mindset is so important.
What kind of mindset do you need to be successful as an entrepreneur?
Well, the sources emphasize the importance of a growth mindset. This is about seeing challenges as opportunities to learn and grow, not as failures.
So you're reframing your perspective on obstacles,
Yeah.
seeing them as stepping stones.
Exactly. And it also means being open to feedback, learning from your mistakes, constantly trying to improve.
It's about being humble, being curious, always wanting to learn more.
Yes. And maybe the most important part of mindset is resilience. The entrepreneurial journey is rarely smooth sailing. There will be ups and downs, setbacks along the way.
It's about having the strength to keep going, even when things get tough.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Resilience is what will keep your passion alive and help you push through those challenges.
It's so inspiring to see how, the right tools and skills and that resilient mindset can help people actually make their dreams a reality.
It really is. It's an exciting time to be an entrepreneur. And, the journey itself is just as important as the destination. It's about embracing the challenges, celebrating the wins, and always learning.
This has been such an insightful conversation. I feel like we've covered so much ground, from finding your passion to building a plan, overcoming obstacles, and even exploring those essential tools and skills.
It's been great. And, the coolest thing is that turning your passion into a way to earn money is something that anyone can do. If you have the drive and the determination, it's possible.
Absolutely. And you don't have to have all the answers right away. It's a journey of learning and growing along the way.
And who knows, maybe someday we'll be featuring your success story right here on QuickSpeak.
That would be amazing. For all our listeners out there, don't forget to check out the website in the show description. We have more learning materials there, including a vocabulary list with definitions and exercises based on today's episode.
Yeah, those resources can really help you solidify your understanding and practice using these new words and phrases.
And of course, make sure to subscribe to QuickSpeak for more episodes filled with tips and inspiration to help you on your English learning journey.
Until next time, keep those passions burning bright, keep practicing your English, and never stop chasing those dreams.